Alright, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been gone for a little bit, but you know what I mean? I'm back, better, and I'm ready to keep putting out content for y'all. Alright, so today I'm gonna be talking about the winners and losers of free agency so far. I think I got 5 winners and about 3 losers to talk about. Not too many, just 8 teams, so just bear with me with it. And alright, let's get right into it. The first one I gotta talk about is the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks this offseason added Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, and Najee Marshall, while losing Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Derrick Jones Jr. The big acquisition for the Mavs this free agency was, of course, Klay Thompson, finally leaving the Warriors after about 12 or so years with them. One of the biggest moves we've seen from someone. A lot of people thought Klay was going to be a Warrior for life. Contract negotiations weren't there. They didn't give him enough. He felt like they weren't respecting him enough, and he left, went to the Mavs. It was reported that he could have gone to the Lakers. I think 76ers were in there. Some were even saying Magic. But he ended up going to the Mavs, and for me, great fit. Defensively, that Klay Thompson, Kyrie, Luka, I don't like it, but Klay Thompson's obviously one of the greatest shooters we've ever seen in the history of the NBA. Probably top, maybe some would say top 5, top 10. Some would even say like top 2. He's obviously a great shooter, although he has been on the decline recently. I think it was almost a career low in 3-point percentage, even though he still shot, I think it was 38.7% on 9 attempts, which is still an elite shooter, even if he slightly declined. The defense isn't there, the athleticism isn't there, but he is still a great shooter. And the Mavs, who were just in the finals, showed that the role players around them, when the pressure came to it, they couldn't hit their shots. PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, Maxi Kleber, for lack of another word, they were brick. They were clank. They couldn't hit a shot in the finals. And I think Klay Thompson comes in, helps that immediately. They also got Najee Marshall, who just had a career high in 3-point percentage, shot over 40% from 3. So I think that's also another great acquisition. Although I'm not sure if I trust Najee to keep up that same production from 3. I still like him, especially I think he'll fit in good defensively. Like he can play the role of someone like PJ Washington or Derrick Jones Jr. And then they also added Quentin Grimes. Grimes has been a up and down player for me. I thought he wasn't getting enough opportunity with the Knicks, but also I wasn't very impressed with what I saw him on the Pistons. So, yeah, that acquisition is up and down, but I think gaining Klay and Najee Marshall, only losing Josh Green, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Derrick Jones Jr., I think that was a great pickup, and I think they've definitely increased their ceiling. Next thing I want to talk about, which some people might not agree with me, is the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons this offseason added Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and they lost Quentin Grimes and James Wiseman. They also re-signed Cade Cunningham and Simone Fontecchio to new deals. And the Pistons last year were one of the worst shooting teams in the league. And I think they did try to fix that. They brought in Malik Beasley. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a very streaky shooter. He can come in and give you 5 threes, or he can come in and give you cardio for 20 minutes. So he's up and down. And then they added Tobias Harris. I'm not too high on Tobias Harris as a player. But I think in somewhere like Detroit, he's played in Detroit before. I think he can be a little bit of a vet to those younger guys. I think what Detroit's just trying not to be trash. Let's just say it bluntly, they're trying not to be trash. So they wanted to bring in Tobias Harris to raise that floor a little bit. And they only lost Quentin Grimes and James Wiseman, who for me, weren't in the future of the Pistons anyway. So I think they did improve then from what they had last season, where they were the worst team in the league. Broke records for how much they were losing. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. Malik Beasley, obviously one of the best shooters in the league. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a decent shooter. Although Tobias Harris is a bit up and down, he is still better shooting than some players they have on the roster. So, I am happy with it. And, of course, they re-signed Cade, who is their franchise player. Alright, the next winner for me to talk about is the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Oklahoma City Thunder added Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso. They lost Giddey and Lindy Waters II, and re-signed Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe to new deals. Isaiah Hartenstein, for me, was one of the most premium free agents on the market. I believe almost most of the teams in the league can use someone like him. Great rebounder, good defender, underrated passer for a big man. And I think on the Thunder, who struggled with rebounding, especially it was shown in the playoffs, I think he's one of the best rebounders in the league, so he'll immediately make an impact on that. Gaining Alex Caruso and losing Giddey, I think that was a good deal. I think I mentioned it in my Josh Giddey video that Alex Caruso is one of the best defensive guards in the league. He is also really improved as a shooter. I think he fits in so well in that team. I think that trade was an extreme win for the Thunder. Losing Waters and Giddey, I don't think that changes much of their floor or ceiling. And they re-signed Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, who are very good players, have shown they're very good shooters, and come off the bench and maybe make an impact. They're going to get better. So I think this was a great offseason for the Thunder so far. For me, they are the best team in the West so far from what I've seen. And I'm excited to see them next season. I'm excited to see if they're going to start Hartenstein, start Caruso, how that lineup's going to look. And yeah, they are one of the winners of this free agency. Now let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers this offseason added Paul George, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, and Caleb Martin, as well as re-signing Tyrese Maxey to a new deal. They also signed Kelly Oubre to a new 2-year deal, and they lost to Mo Bamba, DeAnthony Melton, Nicholas Batum, and Buddy Hield. For me, Paul George going to the Sixers, this is something that will either make or break that team. Paul George, of course, All-NBA caliber player, All-Star player, one of the best players in the league, one of the best wings in the league. I think he fits so well into that team to replace Tobias Harris. I think the gap between PG and Tobias Harris is huge, and I think that immediately raises the 76ers floor. Only concerns I would have would be maybe the injury with him and Embiid, but I think if they stay healthy, they are probably my top two to come out the East. They re-signed Maxey for a 5-year deal. Great. Maxey's been a great player. He's a great part of the culture so far in the 76ers. I like his and Embiid's game. I'm curious to see how him and PG are going to work together. And then they also re-signed Kelly Oubre, who was great last season, as well as picking up Eric Gordon, Caleb Martin, and Andre Drummond. I think they also lost Paul Reed. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. I think they lost Paul Reed, but they replaced him with Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond, although he's not prime Drummond, he is still one of the best rebounders in the league. He can play that backup big when the beat comes out. They brought in Caleb Martin, Eric Gordon. Both are great shooters. Both can come in, play that. Eric Gordon can play that too. Caleb Martin coming off the bench. I like both those fits. I think the 76ers got really much better than they were last season. They did lose. The two biggest losses for them were, I think, Melton and maybe Hield. I think Hield really brought some shooting, and I think Melton's one of the most underrated players in the league. But I think for bringing in PG, Drummond, re-signing Oubre, I think all of that really outweighs their losses. So I think they're one of the winners of this free agency. All right, next we got the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs added Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes, and they lost Devontae Graham. I won't talk on this too long, but the Spurs last season didn't really have a true point guard. For the beginning, they were running Sochan at point guard, and that experiment didn't work. Then they started playing Trey Jones at point guard. And Trey Jones is a good point guard, but the level between him and Chris Paul is, of course, a huge gap, especially in the playmaking. I think that's right now, going into year 2, I think that's exactly what Wemby needs. A pass-first point guard in Chris Paul. They still have Stephon Castle off the bench. And then they also added Harrison Barnes. I think Sochan and Vassell are still going to get better. Wemby, of course, is going to get better. And I think that team might make a play-in push. Maybe not a playoff, but like a play-in push. And I'm really excited to see that, especially just to see the game between Chris Paul and Wemby. See how they gel. And yeah. Now, let's get into the losers of the offseason. For my first loser, I got the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets lost KCP and Reggie Jackson and added Dario Saric. I don't think this is that big of a. I don't think they're that big of losers, but coming off a run where you lost in the conference semifinals, you would expect them to try to get better. But I personally don't think they got better. I kind of like the Dario Saric move so they can have another backup big, but I don't know if Saric is the backup big you would want. KCP is an integral part to 2 of the last 5 championship teams. Great guard defender, obviously great shooter, and Jokic was one of the players in the league who can bring out the best in KCP. And I think losing him was a great loss. So I think that will impact the team. I think that will impact their team. So yeah, they're probably one of my losers. Not that big of losers, but they are one of my losers. All right, now we got the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers, like the Nuggets, aren't that big of losers to me. It's just that for a Lakers team that's trying to get better, try to compete for a championship, they re-signed Max Christie and LeBron, which is good. They lost Taurean Prince, but they haven't added anything else. And apart from they added Dalton Neck and Bronny in the draft, but they haven't added no free agents. And for a team like that, I think what you need to do, you have to be on the up, you have to be buying, you have to be trying to get something. I know they have been trying, but they haven't acquired anything yet. So to me, they are losers. They haven't gained anything. They lost Taurean Prince, who people have different opinions on him. I think he was a decent wing, could shoot, could defend mostly. And so I think losing him would be a pretty decent loss. Not a big loss, but a decent loss. And they didn't replace him with anything, so I'll call them losers. Now I got my biggest losers of the offseason, and that is the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers lost PG, Mason Plumlee, and Daniel Tice, and got in Nicholas Batum and Mo Bamba, and re-signed James Harden. Batum, he's in his late 30s. He's an older player. He can still contribute, but he isn't a needle mover. Mo Bamba, it's not 2018 no more. I'm not that high on Mo Bamba. As a decent center, I think he can be maybe an average backup center. But I'd rather them still have Plumlee or Tice. And then, of course, they lost Paul George. If you're losing an all-NBA caliber player, all-star caliber player like that, and you're replacing him with Batum and Mo Bamba, that's obviously always going to be a loss. They re-signed James Harden, which is good, but I don't see how this Clippers team makes any sort of push. To me, this is one of the... I don't like how they look. Their future, the Clippers. I don't like how the now looks. I don't like how the future looks. I'm really disappointed in the Clippers right now, so they are my biggest loser of the offseason. And yeah, guys, those are my winners and losers of the offseason. Let me know what you think. Who do you think won? Who do you think lost? Let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.